Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV for another episode. It is Monday review time. Flying solo again this evening, looking back at what was, according to Steve Lovell, the most complete performance, especially on the road, from his Gillingham football side this season. 2-0 winners at the weekend at Glanford Park as we overcame Scunthorpe United. And by all accounts, it could have been a lot more than two. Gills starting to deliver. That is the main headline on the back of Monday's Medway Messenger. The proof is in the pudding for Gillingham boss Steve Lovell. The Gills made it back-to-back away wins in League One to move 7 points clear of the relegation zone on Saturday, but it was the manner of their victory at Scunthorpe that Lovell hopes his squad can take inspiration from. So yeah, back-to-back wins on the road in the league, 4 wins on the bounce away from home in all competitions, if you add in Hartlepool and Slough. Moving up the form table in the league, 7 wins from the last 11 games, I believe it is now. Another clean sheet as well, so I think that's 5 from those 11 games. Couple of tweaks tactically. It seems that Elliot List and Josh Parker were swapped by Mr Lovell. Josh Parker dropped into the number 10 role and Elliot List went right up top with Tom Eaves, and it seems that Listy's pace caused plenty of problems. And Josh Parker, according to Mr Lovell, was as good as he's been all season. He was one of those that was spoken to by Steve Lovell a month or so ago, and he's come back and he's got his head down, and we're starting to see him at his best again. And you've only got to look at Luke Cordell's match ratings in the Medway Messenger to see what a good performance this was. Thomas Holy 7, Barry Fuller 7, Max Amar 8, Gabriel Zaquani 7, Connor Ogilvie 8. In midfield, Oldacre 8, Mark Byrne 8, Josh Parker 8, Dean Parrott 9, Elliot List 8 and Tom Eaves 7. And off the bench, Alex Lacey 7. And Billy Bingham didn't get a rating because he only come on for the last 9 minutes. But again, another proper team performance, proper squad performance. All the characteristics of a perfect away display. Dominant with the ball, strong defensively, scored 2 really good goals, and could have had more. There's probably only 2 real negatives from Saturday, and that was Tom Eaves missing another penalty. But thankfully, like at Bradford at home, it didn't have too much of a impact on the final result. And the only other bit of bad news was Max Amar, who apparently was immaculate up until then, dislocated his shoulder. But Steve Lovell hopes that it's not too bad. Initial assessment seems to be that it popped out and popped straight back in, and he may have got away with it to a degree. But whether he's fit for Wickham on Saturday, we'll have to wait and see. In terms of Luke Cordell's match report, we always do the final paragraph. The win moves Gills 7 points away from the drop zone. But with the ability to play like this, surely it is time for Lovell's men to start looking up rather than down. We've said for ages, myself, Boz, Stocky, Dave, we've said it on Twitter, we've said it on videos, we have to start being more consistent, and the signs are at the moment, over them last 11 displays, that we are starting to be more consistent. The away form's picked up dramatically again, which is great. We've got 3 massive home games coming up between now and the new year, starting with Wickham this coming Saturday, Portsmouth Boxing Day, and Doncaster, I think, on the 29th, which will be our last game of 2018. So, and in between then we go to Charlton. So it's 4 massive games. Wickham are absolutely flying. Their home form's absolutely spot on. I think their win over Barnsley, I think it was at the weekend, made it 6 wins on the bounce at Adams Park. But I'm not sure how good they are on the road. But it'll be another proper test for us, and we'll have to be our best, I'm sure, on Saturday. But we'll talk more about that on Thursday, myself and Boz, with the weekly roundup. But yeah, back to the performance itself. Manner of victory thrills boss is another headline inside. I'm happy with the victory and the way we got the victory, said Lovell. The way that we played, the way that we passed the ball, the chances we created, and the way that we defended. It was probably one of the best performances of the season by the players. It is a great result. It could have been a lot more, and I don't think that anyone in this ground could have argued with that. And he also goes on to say that he thought it was better than Portsmouth, start of October, when we went to Fratton Park and beat the league leaders, who were then unbeaten. As an overall performance, it was our best of the season, said Lovell. The way we won the game, it could have been 4, 5 or 6. Portsmouth was a heck of a win because of the situation they were in at the time. They hadn't lost all season, and the situation that we were in. These were both good wins, but for different reasons. That was more of a smash and grab down at Portsmouth, and we held on, while this one we were in control throughout the 90 minutes and looked like we could go on and score whenever we wanted. I've looked at the highlights, we created plenty. Dean Parrott, by all accounts, is probably his best display since arriving in the summer. Scored an absolute peach, and he was very unlucky not to score a second. It was his shot that cannoned off the post. And eventually came back to Conor Ogilvie, who crossed for Tom Eaves to open the scoring. So he's indirectly played a part in that goal as well, Dean Parrott. And like us, generally, it'd just be nice now to see him get some games under his belt and add some consistency, because he's been very in and out because of injuries and niggles, which has been a pain. And he says, yeah, confidence is key for him as well. Confidence is key for Gillingham midfielder Dean Parrott. The Gills are finding their feet in League One after away wins against Bristol Rovers and Scunthorpe, 2 teams below them in the table. Parrott believes they are finding the right mix after a stop-start to the campaign. Football is a confidence game, and we're starting to build that confidence now, he said. We felt from the start of the season that we can beat anyone. We've got the players to do it. It's all about putting the little pieces in place, and we feel we're starting to get the puzzle right. He goes on to say everyone worked their socks off and deserved the win. We had to focus on ourselves and make sure we were on it from the start. The higher up you win it... sorry, this is Steve Lovell talking. The higher up you win it, the quicker it is to goal. We did it really well. I could go around the whole team and say everybody put on a good performance. It's another massive, massive win. As we've said plenty of times, confidence is bred from winning football matches, whether that's in the league, FA Cup, Checker Trade Trophy, or what have you. It is a big gap to the bottom 4 now, but you'd like to think that we can start trying to look the other way, and we are only 5 points off the top half now. So let's start trying to bridge the gap to that top half and start climbing. As I've said, the rest of this month's going to be huge. If we can pick up a couple of wins at home, or put in some good displays, then we could be sitting pretty as we enter the new year. But let's take it one game at a time. Of course, as we've already spoken about, Dean Parrott did score 1 goal, and our other goal scorer was this man coming up on your screen right now. Needs no introduction. 14 goals in all competitions this season, 13 in League One, makes him the top marksman in the division. Thomas Eaves could have had 2, 3, 4 apparently, according to Steve Lovell again, but he got 1, and it set us on the road to another 3 points. A couple of weeks ago it came out that Scottish Premier League side Hibernian were perhaps interested. I know one Gills fan, Louis Hart, tweeted and said he didn't think it was a step up. And he got absolutely obliterated by a lot of Hibernian fans, bless him. I'd have to disagree, Louis. I think it is a step up in terms of stadium size, amount of season ticket holders they've got, the fact that they get to play the likes of Rangers and Celtic twice, 3 times a season. They play in Europe as well, quite regularly. But today, it seems that there is another Scottish Premier League club interested, and that is the mighty Glasgow Rangers. In charge of them is obviously Liverpool legend Steven Gerrard. Seems to be looking at reinforcing his squad as they battle the likes of Kilmarnock and Celtic and Heart of Midlothian for the SPL title. They've just dropped off it in the last couple of weeks. I think they're now 3 points behind Celtic and have played a game extra after being held by 10-man Dundee at the weekend. So Steven Gerrard obviously be in the market to strengthen and increase his options, and I don't think, no disrespect to Hibernian, but if an offer came in from Glasgow Rangers, I think Tom Eaves would be stupid to turn it down, and I think he'd probably go with the blessing of all of our fans. And as long as we get a decent amount to try and replace him, then, as I say, he'd go with our blessing, and it'd be a move that he thoroughly deserves. He's basically averaging a goal every other game for us over a season and a half, and he's been first class ever since turning up in the summer of 2017. But there are 2 English sides apparently involved in this transfer tug of war as well, and that is Championship outfits Blackburn Rovers and Preston North End. So obviously you get attention when you're performing well and you're scoring goals, and all 4 of them are a step up on us. Clearly Blackburn and Preston, they're in a higher division, so I think he'd relish the chance to join either of them. I'd say perhaps he's got more chance of getting in the Preston side quicker at the moment because they seem to be struggling, whereas Blackburn have Danny Graham absolutely flying. Obviously they've got a certain Bradley Dack who plays in behind, who we all know too well, who's absolutely first class at that level. Dominic Samuel coming back from injury. Adam Armstrong, who's been playing from the side. So Blackburn have got loads of attacking options already. But again, if they want to push on and try and bridge the gap between themselves and the top 6 and look at back-to-back promotions, then they're going to look at more players in the January transfer window, and you can never have too many good players. Preston struggling at the wrong end of the table, so they might want someone to fire them away from the drop zone, and it could be a good fit. And we know geographically he's from up north, Mr. Eaves, so they would both fit in that sense. Whether he'd want to go all the way to Scotland is another thing, but I'd imagine if the likes of Glasgow Rangers do come calling, then it'd be very hard to turn it down. But we have to wait till the window opens, and then we'll see for sure what's happening, whether any offers come in, and we have to trust the powers that be within our football club to do the right thing for Mr. Eaves and to do the right thing for Gillingham. As I've said, if Rangers come calling, he'd go with our blessing. I think he's been absolutely brilliant for us, and as disappointed as I would be to see him depart the football club, because he could be the difference between lower mid-table to perhaps even struggling, or if he stays, then obviously looking at top half, like I've already mentioned, he's been that good. So we'll have to wait and see. Fingers crossed that we can keep hold of him until the summer at least, and if not, we'll have to deal with it and move on. That's football. No one's bigger than the football club, and it would be a shame, but he's earned the move, hasn't he? Let's be honest. But that's enough from me tonight. A short one, short and sweet, plenty of positivity again. As I said, myself and Boz will return on Thursday for another weekly roundup and a look ahead to Saturday as we face in-form Wycombe Wanderers, but they will be minus the Beast, Adebayo Akinfenwa, who's still recovering from injury. But no disrespect to Bayo, they seem to be doing all right without him at the moment. They've learnt to play a different way and they're absolutely flying. I think they're 9th in the League One table at the moment, but we'll talk about that in more depth. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me rabbit on. Please keep doing all the usual, subscribing, liking, retweeting, sharing, commenting, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the socials. And until next time, up the Gills.